Hey everyone, I'm ExxotikGaming. Hope you're all having a great day. In today's video, I'll be telling you all about 10 of the biggest mobile shooting games that failed. These games got shut down because the developers just didn't really listen to community feedback, or they just weren't popular at all. Some games actually released, were around for a while, and then got shut down. And some games never got past an alpha or a beta test. And still, some of these games are still playable, but there are like no people online in 2023. I hope you all do enjoy this video. It's a bit different from what I normally do, so please do take a second and leave a like and subscribe for more mobile gaming content. Thanks guys, and let's jump into this. So, getting things started, let's talk about Apex Legends Mobile. This was a pretty obvious one. I'm sure everybody was expecting this game on this list. This was the mobile version of Apex Legends, a popular battle royale game for PC and console. The mobile version was developed by Respawn and Lightspeed and Quantum Studios, a Chinese company. It launched globally in May 2022, and a lot of people really liked the game. It had tons of potential, and it was huge. Unfortunately, after the global launch hype died down, the game started spiraling out of control. There were a lot of issues that plagued this game, and most notably, the developers never really listened to player feedback and even content creator feedback. In May 2023, Respawn announced that they were discontinuing Apex Mobile due to low player count, high development costs, and lack of profitability. It was removed from app stores, and servers were sadly officially shut down. However, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. China is developing a new version of this game, High Energy Heroes, that you might have heard of before, and it might come out pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. Moving along, let's talk about another fan favorite that got shut down far too soon, Area F2. Area F2 was a mobile FPS game inspired by Rainbow Six Siege by Ubisoft. It was a 5v5 tactical close quarters shooter where you could choose different agents with unique abilities and gadgets. It had destructible environments where you could breach doors, walls, windows, and ceilings to create new entry points or ambushes. There were several different game modes, including hostage rescue, bomb defusal, and TDM. Everybody I know of, including myself, really liked this game. It had so much potential to be one of the biggest FPS games of 2020. Unfortunately, Area F2 was just too similar to Rainbow Six Siege. Ubisoft was not happy, and they sued both Google and Apple for allowing the game to be on their app stores, and the game got shut down in May 2020. The developers tried to bring this game back, but it never really came back. Once again, though, there is a silver lining. Rainbow Six Mobile is coming out later this year, so you'll be able to play the real game soon enough, and chances are it might be even better. Continuing forward, the third game on this list is one that wasn't that huge, but I seriously think it could have if it went a slightly different direction. This game is called Project X-22, and it is very different from any game I've seen before. This first-person shooter was like a weird blend of Apex Legends Mobile, Valorant Mobile, Call of Duty Mobile, and a few other games. Imagine a game that combines the shrinking zone of a battle royale, but also you need to collect points by killing players like in a team deathmatch game. There are various zones like Point A and Point B, like in Valorant, or maybe a better comparison is Call of Duty Domination Mode, and you have, I think, 3 or 4 squads of 3 players competing to be the #1 position. It's crazy, and this game did a lot of neat things that other games didn't do. For instance, I think you could respawn at least once, but eventually you can't respawn anymore and you'll turn into a ghost. You can then travel around the map and call out enemies for your teammates. It's really weird, and unfortunately this game only had servers up for a very short time before the developers, MobiJoy, shut down the game forever last year. The fourth game on this list is called Shadowgun War Games. Don't confuse this with Shadowgun Legends, which was actually a very successful game. Shadowgun War Games was made by the same developers, but it did not share the same fate. This game was released in February 2020 and had over 1 million downloads in the first month, but unfortunately pretty quickly it had a lot of problems, including technical issues, lack of content, poor monetization, and strong competition. The game constantly had bugs, glitches, and a lot of hackers everywhere. It had very few heroes, maps, and modes at launch, it didn't have competitive features at launch like clans, leaderboards, and tournaments, and many people said it was pay to win. This game couldn't compete with heavy hitters like Call of Duty Mobile, PUBG Mobile, Critical Ops, and Modern Combat 5, and the game never lived up to the hype that it was a mobile game sort of like Overwatch, basically before Overwatch Mobile was ever even thought up. This game was finally shut down on August 31st, 2021, and that was it. Though Overwatch itself may eventually come from mobile devices, so stay tuned for that. You might want to subscribe for info about that. The fifth game we got to talk about is none other than Modern Combat Versus. You may be a bit surprised to see this game on this list considering how successful Modern Combat 4 and 5 were, but that's the thing, Versus just didn't really live up to the standards set by earlier installments in this series. Literally right from launch, this game was in a bad place. Originally, this game was an auto-firing game. Even when you disabled auto-firing, there wasn't a physical shooting button on the screen. You had to double tap to fire, and it was just terrible. Everybody complained about it. The game only had one game mode called Zone Control, which was a basic capture-the-point game mode. The maps were way too small and linear, and there was no single-player mode or story, which Modern Combat was so famously known for. The game had a whole issue with loot crates that gave ridiculously OP stuff, which made it pretty pay to win, and overall, it was just a buggy, unstable game with matchmaking issues, lag, and latency problems. You can still play the game now, and it's a lot better than it was when it first launched, but it's no comparison to Modern Combat 5. Most people have completely abandoned this game, and it's basically a completely dead game. Continuing forward, the sixth game on this list is Fortnite Mobile. Now hold on. Fortnite Mobile was a very successful game when it first released. It was riding high on the Fortnite hype from a few years ago, but what happened later on down the line is what made this game fail. To be honest, back in the day, I never really liked Fortnite Mobile. I thought the controls were terrible, and it felt way worse than games like COD Mobile and PUBG Mobile. Heck, I mean, even Modern Combat Versus felt way better than Fortnite Mobile. But it did have a lot of cool features like crossplay, for instance, which was pretty revolutionary at the time when Fortnite Mobile released. The biggest issue this game faced, though, was when Epic Games introduced their own payment system in-game that bypassed Apple's 30% commission fee. Basically, whenever somebody buys something in a game, Apple will get 30% of whatever somebody spent in that game. Apple removed the game because of this, Epic Games sued them, and for the past 2 years, they've been in a stalemate. Fortnite still hasn't returned to the App Store and the Google Play Store, and because of this, very few people play the game into 2023. You can still download the game APK on Android off of other websites, and you can cloud game on iOS devices, but let's be real, most people don't do that. There is a possibility that the game could eventually come back, but it's already so old, it doesn't really look too promising to me. Fortnite Mobile is basically a dead game in 2023. Going on down the line, the seventh game we need to talk about is Afterpulse. Who remembers this game? I remember when it first came out, it was a super popular game, and it sort of felt like a third-person Call of Duty Mobile before COD Mobile was even a thing. This game released in 2017 for iOS and Android devices. It had realistic graphics, customizable weapons and armor, and various multiplayer modes. However, this game ended up facing the biggest problem mobile game developers have, the pay-to-win issue. Developers are just too greedy. Pretty quickly, players realized that you could just pay to get better weapons and gear, and rich players had a super unfair advantage over free-to-play players. Afterpulse also had a lack of updates and support from developers. They were honestly just slacking, dude. There were bugs, glitches, and hackers, and none of this was addressed by them. And the game got really repetitive and boring because no new content came for a really long time. Afterpulse really lost its appeal over time, and nowadays, basically nobody plays it anymore. The game was last updated in September 2021, and that was it. I think they've officially stopped this game altogether. Another game that I really did enjoy back in the day was Guns of Boom. The eighth game on this list had tons of potential and was actually quite popular back in the day, but it's a forgotten game now in 2023. It was launched in May 2017 for iOS and Android and had over 50 million downloads by the end of 2018. It was a fast-paced, arcadey FPS game with vivid, cartoony graphics, lots of weapons, various game modes, and quite the competitive esports side, to be honest, a lot more than most other games. It was a lot of fun, but Unfortunately, just like Afterpulse, this game had that pay-to-win issue. The developers really didn't listen to player feedback. Guns of Boom was very unstable, especially on lower-end devices, and just like other games, it lacked innovation and variety and didn't offer enough new content for the regular players who played it every day. We don't give enough credit to games like Call of Duty Mobile and PUBG Mobile that bring us so much new content constantly. So many more games just don't do that, and it really shortens their lifespan. That's like the best tip I have for any developer. You have to keep bringing in new content that people actually like to make your game last longer. Guns of Boom's final update came out in March 2022, over a year ago now, and I think that marks the end of an era. Getting close to the end here, the 9th game I'd like to talk about is Battlefield Mobile. You guys knew this was coming. I talk about this game way too much for my own good, but honestly, I really wanted a really good Battlefield game on mobile devices. Imagine if Battlefield 4 came out for mobile. You know how cool that would be? It would be awesome. Well, yeah, this game first began testing in fall 2021, and no one was impressed with how it looked back then. It looked like a game from 2014. Even games from 2014, like Modern Combat 5, for instance, looked better than Battlefield Mobile. It was crazy. We anticipated this game would get a lot better over time, but test and test came and went for over a year, and it still sort of sucked. I guess EA realized this, and in February 2023, they shut down the studio that was working on this game, Industrial Toys, and Battlefield Mobile development was also shut down, never seeing a wider audience. Now, one thing to note, this game could come back. A well-known leaker on Twitter, SargeOP, has bold predictions, and he thinks this game will return. We don't know for sure, though, so for right now, we can say that Battlefield Mobile was one of the biggest failures in mobile gaming history. And here we are with the final game on this list, Critical Ops Reloaded. Maybe you've never heard of this game before, but this was supposed to be the sequel to Critical Ops, one of the most popular CSGO mobile-style games for iOS and Android devices. Critical Ops was one of the biggest FPS games back in the day, and since that game was getting pretty old, it did make sense to make an improved version of the original. This game was supposed to have improved graphics, new maps, new modes, and an in-game voice chat. However, unfortunately, after launch, this game faced a myriad of problems, such as being region-locked only to a select few Asian countries, a different monetization system than the original Critical Ops, making it more pay-to-win, an unstable player experience with some players even losing their progress, items, or ranks, and a different, faster-paced arcadey playstyle compared to Critical Ops. It was a lot different, and a lot of people even said this game didn't even feel the same compared to the original, and the developers realized that there was a lot of negative feedback pretty quickly, and they shut down the game on September 20th, 2020, leaving the original game behind. Critical Ops is a super old game, but it stood the test of time, showing that you don't have to make some improved graphics game and change the original formula to make a game successful. If you do it right the first time, then your game can last for a really long time. And that's it. That's the end of the video. I know it might seem depressing, but at least a lot of these games are still playable, or at the very least, something similar still exists. Rainbow Six Mobile is coming out very soon for Area F2 fans. Critical Ops' original version is still around. You can still play it right now. Fortnite Mobile is still playable on Android from third-party websites. For iOS, you can play Fortnite over the cloud, and so much more for like every game on this list. So don't be too sad. These developers all learn from their mistakes, and if they ever make new mobile FPS games in the future, they're bound to be better than the games that we talked about earlier. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on these games? Did you play any of them back in the day? Let me know in the comments, and let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this. Please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.